Welcome to Pallilo Points. I'm Brandon Strange of Sports Map Houston. I'm joined by Charlie Pallilo of ESPN 97.5, 92.5. Remember to hit subscribe if you haven't already to this channel. Charlie, last week, the Astros got some tough news that a guy who was probably going to be their number one, or at least in contention for number one starter in the rotation, will now miss most of, if not all the season in Framber Valdez. In short order, the Astros snatched up the last significant pitching free agent in Jake Odorizzi. We don't have specifics of the deal as of this recording, but it appears to be a 2-year deal with a player option in year 3 with incentives and everything. Maybe it's around $30 million. At least that's what we have right now. There were a lot of question marks surrounding next year's pitching staff already with Verlander and Greinke and McCullers. They could all be gone. But I think this signing is still interesting since it's a multi-year deal. So it begs the question, if Framber doesn't fracture his finger, does this signing happen?
No. Definitely not. The Astros kept a little of their financial powder dry, mindful of the collective bargaining agreement and the competitive balance tax threshold that the Odorizzi contract nestles them right up against, if not takes them over. So I think they made the move now. I don't want to call it a silver lining of losing Framber this early, so they knew they had to add a pitcher, and Odorizzi clearly the best remaining available on the board at the time of injury. I think it would have been purely an in-season adjustment if McCullers and or Urquidy and or Javier and or Greinke and or Framber in whatever combination didn't pitch well, hold up physically. Right? They're all question marks in the Astros rotation. Odorizzi is another one off his 2020 season in which he only pitched 4 times. Oblique injury and blister problem, but arm sound. 2019, 15-4, helped the Twins win 100 games, 3.51 ERA, an innings eater. At 2 years, $30 million, if that's at least in range of the numbers, I don't want to say it's a low-risk, high-reward signing, but this is the kind of move if you're an Astros fan, you're saying, you know, we are in the fight. Ownership and management has a freaking clue, in stark contrast to the other 2 big teams in town about now.
Indeed. And number one, what do you think, the familiarity with Click or Click's familiarity with him from their time with the Rays together? How do you think that played into it? And, how much do you put more value into Click's evaluation of Odorizzi because he saw him firsthand? And then secondly, what do you think working with a guy like Brett Strom could help do to raise his game?
Yeah, I think Jupiter aligned with Mars on it. Click's history with Odorizzi, where he had a couple of good seasons with the Rays, though none nearly as good as his 2019 with the Twins. So his most recent full season of work was his best work, 2020. I don't want to call them fluky injuries. Obliques happen. The blister, you presume they got a hold of that. And it was just the crazy short in 2020. You don't want to overly hold that against the guy. He's 31 years of age. Click certainly at least would have firsthand testimony to the character question, the kind of guy in the clubhouse. But the Astros, frankly, could tolerate a bit of a jerk if he was going to give them 160 solid innings in his rotation. 2014 through 2019, Odorizzi made at least 28 starts per season. So unless 2020 turned out to be the beginning of the end, that's a real solid bet. And if backed by an Astros offense that comes close to fulfilling the level of potency given good health that it could have, this is a guy who, if he makes 28 starts, could win 15 games for this team.
So looking at Odorizzi's contract, at least how we understand it right now, do you think maybe Lance McCullers would have taken a similar sort of deal if that had been offered to him? And the fact that it wasn't offered to him, do you think it could be an indicator that maybe the Astros don't extend him?
Yeah, you never know when push comes to shove how much a guy's willing to bet on himself. If I'm Lance McCullers, given my health history, given I have yet 6 years into the start of his major league career, he has yet to have one full season in which he has both pitched well and stayed healthy. $30 million guaranteed, where you could still become a free agent again before you're 30. If I'm Lance McCullers, I would have been all over that. As a guess, I would say he would have taken that. If the Astros offered him because he's pitching for $6 million this year, he better win the Cy Young Award if he's thinking he's going to get $24 million from anybody next year. But with $67.5 million of Greinke and Verlander off the books, the Astros gain dramatic flexibility to spend both in the rotation or the everyday lineup. If they think, hey, we need to go get one more major outfielder after the season, or Correa's gone and they want to bid on another shortstop, or they're more willing to pay Correa. But $67.5 million. They're not paying Greinke all $34.5 million of his bucks, but every dollar counts in the calculations toward the competitive balance tax. So fully 1/3 of their payroll, Verlander and Greinke. Now, Greinke has a good year and may want to continue here at a lower rate. But I think that really enables them to go multi-year on Odorizzi at non-crazy money in this era. But Charlie Morton, for instance, took 1 year, $15 million with the Atlanta Braves. If 2 months ago the Astros knew that Framber Valdez was going to have a season-ending spring training injury, maybe they'd have brought back Charlie Morton. So they had to guarantee more in the extra year on Odorizzi, but he's a younger pitcher, and I think he's a smart bet.